Hello and good evening, everybody. Pleased to have you with us at Kern County Raceway for the final race of the NEP Summer Series presented by RSAL TV. I'm Austin Belkey, joined in the booth once again by my dear friend Kenny Kibbe. And as always, we have Ryan Salvatore behind the cameras, turning the knobs and pushing the buttons. Last week at Nashville Super Speedway, John Peters came from the back with a spin and win to take the victory in a hectic race, followed by Brian Shipp in the second position. Round 8 of the Summer Series has us in California at Kevin Harvick's Kern County Raceway. Kenny, what can you tell us about Kern and what can drivers expect for tonight's race?
Yeah, so Kern County Raceway is a half-mile long D-shaped oval with progressive banking starting at 12 degrees up to 14 degrees with 8 degrees of banking on the straightaways. This track is wide, but you're going to generally see drivers fighting for the bottom here, most likely. You can kind of pinch drivers off the corners if you're defending on that second lane, but you're not going to see drivers go much further up the track than that if they intentionally anyway. This track is pretty abrasive on tires, kind of been a replacement for the old Mesa Marin Speedway that was closed down in the mid 2000s out in California. And yeah, I expect to see a lot of kind of four-wheel sliding. I expect to see a lot of tire wear on the rear end of the trucks. So watch out for corner exits. Getting throttled down will be important tonight.
Thanks, Kenny. Glad you touched on how abrasive this track surface is. These drivers are going to be struggling for tire grip, especially towards the end of these runs, just given how abrasive the surface is. We'll have to see which drivers want to come in and how frequently, based on the tire wear that they continue to face and these trucks. Take it to the starting grid really quickly. Brent Roy continues his domination of the Summer Series. He takes pole. He has Steve Daddio out back on track to his outside in the second position. Great to have Steve back on the race track as well. Keith Lord lines up on the inside of row number 2. He'll have Jeff Bradway rolling off to his outside. Corey Casagrande shares row number 3 with Zane Farrell, who rolls off in the 6th position. Starting in 7th is Drew Greenlaw on the inside line. Tim Shinosky will line up in the 8th position. Mike Douglas Jr. takes off in 9th, followed by Jeff Brown, who rounds out your top 10 starters. Scott McDonald, Pooter as we like to call him, starts in the 11th position. He has Adam Henry starting his side in 12th, and rounding out the field, Brian Shipp. See if we can't talk to Brian Shipp really quickly. He missed the opportunity to be interviewed last week after a quick exit. Go ahead and bring Shipp into the booth. Brian, it's Austin. You got a copy?
Yep.
Brian, what a heck of a job you did last week towards the end of that race. Tire strategy really fell into your lap there, and it looked like you were going to get the win for a while. It just came up a little bit short.
Yeah, I kept clipping the apron. In real life, that tends to make the car turn a little better, but on here, not so much.
It's
I'd make
interesting.
up the ground and clip the apron and lose it all back.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk about the difference between the real life car and what you have to deal with on iRacing. What else is difficult to maybe switch between the two on a weekly basis like you do?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not very good at this, and the not having the feel in the seat, I think, really affects me. Because I mean, that's all I've known since I was 11 was sitting in a real seat, and you can't feel the car in this. So, I mean, you get the visuals out the window, but that's about it, and a little force feedback, but kind of hard to really tell what it's doing.
Sounds good, Chip. Well, best of luck for tonight. Hopefully, we have another chance to talk to you at the end of tonight's broadcast as well.
I'm sure we'll put some tire strategy into this race because we ain't going to drive up there on pure talent here. All
Well, good luck, buddy.
right, thank you.
Brian Shipp, driver of the number 48 truck, iRacing Pace truck down pit road. Waiting for Brent Roy and Steve Daddio to put their feet down. Green flag out in the air. Decent start for Brent Roy. Steve Daddio to his outside. And again, that second lane, Kenny, you mentioned it, just about as high as these drivers are going to want to go. Keith Ford challenging Steve for the second position. Brent Roy clears himself into the lead as they head through turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, you see there's two pairs of side-by-side here battling for second and fourth respectively. That's going to give Brent Roy a chance to kind of run away, build a little bit of a gap. However, you do see Keith Lord slotting into second, and you see Steve, he doesn't want to fight right now. He just wants to slot in and kind of chill out for a bit here.
Yeah, a veteran move there from Steve Daddy, just kind of realizing he could hang on to that position if he wanted to murder his tires just a little bit, but he's going to take it easy on those, slot back down into the third position, kind of take what's coming to him for right now at this point in the race. Just behind those drivers, two side by side battle between Jeff Bradway on the outside and Corey Casagrande on the inside, and now Zane Farrell in the 14 truck comes to the outside of Mr. Casagrande there, challenging for that sixth, excuse me. He's going to take it. Not too much of a challenge here for Corey at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of give and take early on here. I'm a little bit surprised. Generally, a lot of aggressive drivers in NEP, but I think a lot of drivers just kind of want to settle in here, run some single file laps, and a lot of the drivers up top, they really have to clear down quickly because the trucks are getting tighter and tighter on corner entry as the night goes on. You really have to push corner entry to make the top line work. So that's just going to accelerate the tire wear on the front end and then make it harder to get back to the throttle.
Yeah, towards the tail end of practice, I saw these trucks stepping out, especially on Corey Casagrande. So I have to imagine that maybe the trucks, I think this give and take is kind of just a feature of the truck, maybe being a little bit loose to start the run. And I definitely expect, as always, they're going to tighten up like nobody's business towards the middle and end of this tire stint.
You see another position change right here. You got Scott McDonald getting around Mike Douglas Jr. in the 23 truck. So now I believe we're all single filed out. Looks like Steve Daddio taking a look underneath Keith Lord, but hasn't really made any moves yet, but he is taking a look. You see, he's getting down to the bottom, right down to that white line, just a little bit better than the 17 truck.
Yeah, Steve's just doing a little bit better job painting that white line on the bottom of the racetrack. I don't know if that's just taking feet off the lap for Steve or if he's looking for a little bit of clean air tucked up behind that 17 mobile in front of him. These trucks are doing about 90 miles an hour in the center of the corner, so they're still going considerably fast, all things considered, at their slowest point in the lap.
Yeah, and I think that you really do want to get all the way down to that white line if possible, but it takes a lot of patience. You really have to roll out of the throttle and let the truck roll for quite a long distance before you get back onto the gas. And with how wide this track is, it's really tempting to get back on the throttle early, and you can get away with that for a while. But the more times you do that and you're fighting the truck on corner exit, trying to get it to turn, the worse the truck will handle in 20, 30, 40 plus laps from now.
Closest battle on track is still between the 17 and the 99, with a close, I'll say, second place between the 14 truck and the 7 of Corey Casagrande. I think that 7 is finally starting to come back into the hands of Corey. I think he's becoming a little bit more and more comfortable with the truck's handling characteristics. I don't think it'll be too much longer before we see him trying to knock down the door of that top 5 once again.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer in how you run the first, say, 5 laps of a run on new tires really dictates or can help dictate how the vehicle is going to feel on the long run. If you're really punishing those tires right off the get-go, sometimes you get them hot and that grip really doesn't come back the same way as what you had it. But if you kind of work the tires in, you can have a nice consistent run in theory throughout the life of the tires. There was a couple trucks that actually touched the wall off of the turn 2. That was Zane Farrell and Jeff Bradway. Zane taking a look under Jeff Bradway a little bit, and you see you riding on board with Corey Casagrande, who has a front row seat to it all.
Yeah, just as I was talking about the fact that the 70 CT truck, of Corey Casagrande was trying to track down the 14 of Zane Farrell, Zane started to reel in the 13 truck of Jeff Bradway. So those 3 trucks are kind of just coming together all at once. Zane took a look there last time off of turn 4. Nothing really doing, so I think he's just going to bide his time for right now. But these guys are going to have to get going because sooner or later, I think that 40 machine of Tim Shinoski and that Bucky's mobile back there, just see it barely coming into frame on the right-hand side of your screen. I think he's going to come up and challenge these guys, and then it'll be a 4-way fight for that 4th spot.
Yeah, and Tim's really known for being a very conservative driver when it comes to saving his stuff for the end. I know the first race that I covered in this series, he was one of the fastest trucks at the very end of the race at Five Flags Speedway. So I think he's just kind of sitting back for a little while and going to make his move in a little bit, but he's a very consistent driver in the 40 truck.
And of course, we're going to talk about it a few more times as we get deeper and deeper into the broadcast. But the two championship contenders, Corey Casagrande and Brent Roy, are separated by just 5 points coming into tonight's affair. Corey currently with a 5 point lead over Brent Roy. But if they were to finish as they run, obviously the title would go the way of the 26 machine. So Corey's going to have to do a little bit better, get himself up there and further into contention. But still a lot more racing today.
Yeah, and the one thing he does look forward to is if we run 40 consecutive green flag laps, we will get a kind of competition caution, which will reset the field and bunch everybody back up. We're about halfway to that at the moment. We've run 20 laps already. So that will give Corey at least one chance to kind of reset, get a new set of tires on, and make a charge at the end. But right now, Brent has control of the race. He has track position, and the 7 truck is kind of mired back in traffic.
Yeah, kind of another thing we're accustomed to seeing this season is the fact that Brent Roy is out front. That should be nothing new. But the other thing that's kind of been what's going on all season is the fact that the 17 truck of Keith Lord is up there challenging for the lead. Not leading, but he's up there within spitting distance of it. I think that 17 truck, if you look at the average finishes, taking out the outside ones on that, box and whisker plot looking thing, I think you'd see Keith has just about the best average finish throughout this whole season. Again, he's had his ups and downs, but he's just been extremely consistent with, I'm going to say, just being adjacent to the spotlight that Brent Roy's been in.
Yeah, Keith definitely knows how to run some fast laps. He knows how to play the strategy game. Just hasn't been able to put an entire race together to get into victory lane. This here continues to be the closest battle on screen. Jeff Bradway, who ran the fastest lap of the race early on, is now kind of fallen into the clutches of the three trucks behind him. Zane trying to find a way around him, and kind of hard to tell who actually is the fastest out of this 4, with the 13 truck starting to kind of hold up the group behind him, and they are catching up to a lap truck and Jeff Brown in the 39. That may play a factor in this. Maybe one of these drivers can use him as a pick.
Yeah, I certainly can't tell you who's the fastest driver in this fearsome foursome right here, but I can tell you who's the slowest. And 9 times out of 10, it's that leading driver, that kind of proverbial cork in the bottle, holding everybody up. Zane just having a really difficult time of putting his truck in a way off the corner that I'm going to say leads to him getting a lot of speed. It's easy to get a run on a guy, but it's hard to take it anywhere. Zane actually almost taking it into the outside wall there off of turn number 2. Holds on to it. You see Jeff Brown making way for those drivers. So around the outside, he goes to the apron.
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen is you'll see these drivers flirt with the turn 2 exit wall here at Kern County. Turn 2 is a straight exit, meaning the wall straightens out, whereas out of turn 4 it's kind of a curved wall. You see that good view there on the camera shot. Turn 4 just kind of curves out, and you can really kind of open the wheel out, let the truck kind of ride out to the corner exit. But turn 2, you have to be a lot more strict with how the truck exits out of that corner, and that's where you'll see drivers smack that outside wall because they just fight a push in these trucks generally with a fixed setup. And they just get a little overzealous on throttle, and it pushes them up into that outside fence.
I think it's really difficult, just like how you're saying, Kenny. It's difficult for these drivers to kind of imagine this track as 2 separate tracks. You have to drive turn 2 a lot different than you drive turn 4, and you have to drive through turn 1 a lot different than you drive through turn 3 because this track is asymmetric. So you can't really get yourself in a rhythm like you would at maybe a Martinsville or a Bristol, where the track is symmetric in both the X and the Y axis. Here it's only symmetric across the start finish line. That's the only kind of symmetry you have.
And as these drivers have eclipsed 30 laps into this race, the tire fall off appears to be about 9/10 of a second or so compared to the driver's best lap times. And right now, seems like the top 3, they kind of been trading lap times. Keith Lord's fallen off the pace just a little bit off of Brent Roy in the last few laps. Steve Daddio's kind of leveled out, and he's been occasionally the fastest truck on track. And the group that we are watching right now, they've occasionally been running fast laps as well. It's just they're more tightly packed, so it's harder to remain consistent when you have drivers in front of you.
Yeah, and just as I was beginning to say, of this foursome of drivers here, I can't tell you who's the fastest, but I know who's the slowest. Just as I say that, Jeff Bradway started to pull away from those three drivers behind him. So I almost kind of wonder if he was biding his time, saving his tires for a little bit in the middle of this run. But just as we say that, we're getting closer and closer to that sort of competition caution, or the penalty for running green flag laps here to start this race.
Yeah, and I think, Jeff Bradway really loose into turn one there. I'm noticing the balance of the truck is finally starting to switch to the loose side on corner exit. And Keith Bradway got loose. I think Corey Casagrande had a little bit of a moment as well. And that's allowing the 14 of Zane Farrell to kind of take another look. His truck looks a lot more planted than Bradway's. Bradway actually running the higher line right now, just trying to not put so much wheel into that thing as he gets around the corner.
Yeah, you can tell the tires on the 14 machine are much better off than the ones on the 13 truck, but it's all about the exit that Zane can get off the corner, and the fact that Jeff Bradway continues to put his truck on the high line coming off the turn. That, of course, encourages Zane to put a little bit more throttle and wheel into it, in turn getting him way loose coming off the corner. He has to check up out of the throttle, and that allows Bradway to clear himself before they enter the next set of corners.
So it looks like Brian Ship actually went a lap down, and he will end up getting the free pass once this caution falls, as you got, again, side by side, Zane trying to be ahead of the 13 truck. He doesn't have to clear him, just needs to be ahead at whatever point the caution comes out.
Yeah, Zane continues to try and battle down there on the inside. Bradway just a masterclass right now of not so much defensive driving, just running your own race and letting the other drivers say, hey, if you're faster, go around me. Here, I'll leave you the whole bottom lane to make the pass. And unfortunately for the 14 machine, Zane Farrell just not quite able to do it.
And some of those drivers behind might actually be looking at that and saying, oh, this high line actually might work, as there you go. There's the competition caution.
Comes out just as Brent Roy crosses the start-finish line to start lap 42.
Now, obviously, pit strategy is going to be pretty obvious right here. You're going to see all drivers come down the pit lane, take one of their sets of tires, and there you go, Brent Roy leading the field down pit lane. Oh, and
Corey Casagrande almost into the pit entrance
oh, and Tim
wall.
Shinosky too.
Tim Shinosky gets stuck. Everybody's making this a three-point turn, and I think Adam Henry might just get a penalty for passing cars on the entrance to pit road.
Yeah, and if he does, that's very unfortunate for him, because he didn't really do anything wrong. In fact, the trucks who missed pit lane are the ones that made the mistake.
Yeah, I think that started with Zane Farrell almost missing the pit entry, and then Corey Casagrande saw nothing but the rear end of the 14 truck and couldn't get it stopped or turned in time. So unfortunately for both Corey and Tim, as well as the 20 machine, I believe that's Greenlaw, those drivers all coming out at once. Here's the Shinosky, Henry, McDonald, Douglas. See if Corey loses a lap here. It's going to be close. Not so sure he made it off pit road in time.
Yeah, you see, Brent the leader didn't beat him, but the pace truck did. So it'll be interesting to see how iRacing scores that. Yeah, he does have to drop. Yep, he's dropping to the back along with the truck in front of him.
It's unfortunate. It happened to me, I believe, last week in a league race I did where I don't know if I think I beat the pace car off of pit road, but in the process of coming up to speed, the pace car passed me, so I had to stay in between the pace car and the leader. And it looks like Corey, and it looks like he's going to get a wave. So it looks like those two drivers, the 7CT of Corey Casagrande and the 20 truck of Drew Greenlaw, going to get that wave around here as the trucks behind them start to stack up. You see the lights on top of the iRacing pace truck out. That means we're going to go green flag racing, this time by the starter stand. We'll have 30 laps to go when they take the green flag here. It'll be lap 46 of 75. So now the field once again in the command of Brent Roy. We'll see if Steve Daddio can sneak through to the inside of Keith Lord just as Keith did to him on the initial start. Doesn't look like it. Brent Roy and Keith both get amazing starts off the jump. Steve Daddio looks like he'll be able to slot into third. A little bit of challenge from Jeff Bradway on the outside. Let's see if the 13 truck can go anywhere. Steve able to clear himself. Let's see if Bradway challenges to the inside. Again, this is the driver that knows just how good the outside of the track can be. Look at Zane once again, just as these two were battling side by side before the caution, they're going to pick up right where they left off.
Yeah, I know Zane, you see Zane pushing up off of turn 4. It's a little bit tight, and he's going to have to fall back in line. Right behind them, you see Adam Henry actually making a move on Tim Shinowski. Tim actually kind of benefited from that pit lane mishap, ended up gaining a spot because of Corey having to go to the back, that 7 truck, and Tim was able to not get any penalties or anything like that during pit lane. So he's side by side with Adam Henry still. I think he's, again, trying to conserve his stuff the best he can, but it's a balance. You want to conserve your tires, but you also want to keep your track position because it's proven to be pretty hard to pass this evening.
It has indeed. You see just how tricky it is watching this battle between not just the 14 and the 13, but the 40 and the 62. Of course, Adam Henry, another driver who benefited from that, I'll say, pit lane error there on the 7CT's machine part. I think Scott McDonald did as well.
And again, we're seeing kind of the same story. The leaders are kind of just a nice even interval between all 3 of the top trucks. Jeff Bradway keeping up so far with Zane Farrell pretty close back. And we have Adam Henry around, slow slide. And he keeps it off of the truck that passing by, Mike Douglas Jr. I thought that Adam Henry was going to slide down into that 23, who was going to be an innocent victim, but a great save by Adam Henry to stay green. Let's take a look at it.
Absolutely phenomenal save. Here's the replay. This is down turn 2, into turn 3. There you see that 62, the rear end just steps out on him. What a job to not overcorrect that thing either.
Yeah, and that's just caused by, on these fresh tires, the truck's a little bit free, and these drivers are driving into the corners as hard as they can right now to either take or defend their position. And Adam just drove in a hair too deep, got the truck stepped out, and luckily was able to catch it. There's another tight battle going on as we have a little bit of contact between Drew Greenlaw and Corey Casagrande, the 2 drivers trying to come back through the field after that pit lane mishap.
Drew from the outside back down to the inside, tries to pull the old crossover on Corey Casagrande. Nothing doing there. He's going to have to slot back in line. Let's see if these 2 drivers, now that they've gotten things sorted out, can they pull away from the 23 there of Mike Douglas, and can they catch up to the drivers ahead of them like Scott McDonald up there in the 44 truck?
Yeah, and I mean, Corey has a good truck underneath him. He doesn't have any of the track position. I want to give a quick shout out to Scott McDonald, though. Started back in 11th. He is up to P7 this evening, which doesn't sound like much, but it is the biggest mover of the night so far. He's kept the thing clean, and he's kind of running by himself right now.
Boy, I feel like that's just been kind of the mantra of Scott McDonald this entire season. Just the quiet consistency, not doing anything flashy, but he just does what he needs to do, gets what he can out of that race truck, and brings it home where he needs to. So just that quiet consistency out of that 44 machine. Up towards the front of the field, Brent Roy, still your leader. He's led every single lap thus far into the race. Net 26, started on the pole, and I'm not going to say he's been pulling away from everybody lights out. I think he's kind of just in managing his race, but we've seen how tricky it is to pass. And obviously, he does have a little bit of edge on speed over the 17 and the rest of the field, but they're not just letting him pull away with this thing, Kenny.
Yeah, I think, we've seen some times where, the 26 will pull away just a little bit, then the 17 will kind of gain that ground back, and there's kind of like a slinky effect going on between like the top 3. The third team behind Steve Daddio there, that yellow and black truck of Jeff Bradway, doing a better job this time around of staying close to these leaders, but I will say he is the one truck that his truck doesn't look quite as planted as the others in the top 3. As I say that, he gets really loose off of turn 2, and there goes a Now he has a big gap up to the top 3, and that's just going to make his rear tires that much angrier as the run goes on, and we still have 15, 14 laps to go.
And we talk about it all the time in racing when it comes to heating up your tires. It's a real vicious cycle, but because the hotter the tires get, the less they grip the racetrack. The less they grip the racetrack, the more they spin freely. The more they spin, the hotter they get. So it keeps just this vicious circle, and it's going to take him probably about a lap and a half of driving quite conservatively before he can get those tires back into that, we'll say, optimal pressure and temperature. And you can see he continues to slide that rear end around, bleeding time to the front 3 drivers and letting Zane Farrell in that 14 machine reel him in for that 4th spot.
Yeah, and I think at the beginning of the run, he was running that higher line just because he chose to. So we have a replay we're taking a look at here. This is the 23 and the 20. And there's a spin. Drew Greenlaw goes around, and we do have a caution on the racetrack for, I believe, that, right?
Yep. Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit of contact there sends the 20 machine of Drew Greenlaw spinning. He'll nose it into the inside wall. Unfortunately, I believe he's going to go a lap down for that. Doesn't look like he has a whole lot of damage on the front end of that 20 truck, but I think he is going to bring it on down to pit road with the rest of the field. No. Quite a
It looks
number
like,
of drivers staying out.
yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised. I mean, granted, we ran, what, around 20-ish laps on tires, which is not, I mean, that's not a ton. However, I do think that it's worth taking tires and just trying something out, especially if you're like outside the top 5. So it looks like 5 drivers stayed out that are on the lead lap.
Yeah, so just as a comparison here, Brent Roy's fastest lap, he set it on lap 6. It was a 18:3.99. When we went back green flag racing, he was running about, I'm going to say low to mid 18s, about 18.4s was the laps he was putting down. When the caution came out, Brent was only putting down a high 18s. I mean, it looks like 18.8s, 18.9s. And it kind of just, I'll say a very linear progression there for speed. So I am a little bit shocked that as many drivers stayed out as did. You see the, what is that, the front 4 or 5 drivers
Yeah.
stayed out on the racetrack.
Yeah, top 5 stayed out. Tim Shinowski will be the final driver on older tires. Corey Casagrande actually took 2 tires, and he has overlapped everybody else that took tires. So he will be the first one on any kind of fresh rubber. Now, one thing to note, we talked about how these trucks have been a little bit loose on new tires already, and having only 2 fresh tires is probably going to magnify that condition. The first truck on 4 tires is that white one there, Zane Farrell, the 14. The other thing these guys have to be mindful of is, yes, you need to push, you need to drive hard, but you just can't get too greedy. We've seen in times in the past where drivers will get too greedy on corner exit, too much throttle, too much wheel, and spin themselves out and undo all their progress. But here we go for the restart.
iRacing pace truck down pit road. The field once again in the hands of Brent Roy. Keith Lord starts to his outside. Steve Daddio fourth. Jeff Brad. Whoa! Keith did not get going. They're 3 wide as they head down to the corner, almost 4 wide. Look at Corey Casagrande. He's the first truck with any bit of new tires. Watch back there in the middle. There's that white 14 machine of Zane Farrell. He's trying to navigate through the field. Corey, though, threads the needle between the 13 of Jeff Bradway to the outside of Tim Shinowski. He's going to look to the inside here of Keith Lord as they head down into turns 1 and 2.
And a great job by Zane Farrell just getting clear of Tim Shinowski there. As a little bit of contact, and we have 1 around. Now this is really going to help those guys that took new tires. Now Corey is up to 3rd, and I believe Zane Farrell will be 5th. So we take a look at the replay. Look at that blue truck, the 23. He's going to get tagged. Okay. It was kind of a 3 wide situation there. Just a little bit, just not enough room on corner exit there between Adam Henry and then that white truck there, and then the 23.
Didn't look like you got any damage from that. Just a little bit of a sideways spin, enough to slow the truck down, pull out the caution. Didn't make any contact with anyone after that initial bit that started to spin that 23 Oreo truck. That's the cause for the caution. And Kenny, I couldn't disagree anymore with your assessment there. I think that was maybe if the caution came out about a lap or two later, I think that would have been the absolute best case scenario. But I think Casa Grande and Farrell are, they've got to be pretty happy right now, given the fact that we're going to get a green white checkered to end this race, and they'll have another opportunity to use their fresher tires.
Yeah, this is going to compress the field back up, and now I'm assuming that Brent Roy would have lane choice. I'm curious to see if he picks the top just for the sake of putting a roadblock in front of Corey here. But this is going to be a green-white checkered to the finish, and he did pick the bottom. So
Of course, just to remind you folks at home, the 26, Brent Roy, came into today's race in the championship standings 5 points behind the 7 CT machine of Corey Casagrande. Corey, the aggressor right now, he's got the 2 new right side tires. And Kenny, I said I couldn't disagree more. What I meant to say was I couldn't agree more. At any rate, iRacing pace truck down pit road. Brent Roy let him get way out ahead of him so he could make his way through the restart zone. A little bit of a bump there from Corey, but a phenomenal start for Brent as they head through turns 1 and 2. Let's see if Corey can make any magic happen here off the corner. It gets to the inside of Steve Diadio. They're even down the backstretch, but Corey's going to need a lot of help if he wants to run down that 26 truck out ahead of him.
now he will get clear of Steve Daddio. He's going to have, I think, one shot down in turn 3. He's not going to be close enough down in 1 and 2, but how far is he going to send it down in turn 3 for the final time?
Yeah, this is the last lap. This is for every single marble in the bag. Does Brent Roy go 5 for 8, or does Corey Casagrande get to him? Looks like Brent's going to go 5 for 8. Off the corner, Brent Roy takes the checkered flag here at Kern County and takes the victory in the championship for the Summer Series.
Yeah, Corey did all he could. He just barely ran out of time. One more lap's all he would have needed.
Yeah, even a half a lap, I think he could have gotten to the inside or the outside of that 26 machine, come home with the win and the championship. A little bit of a, hey, bud, sorry about your runner up there from Keith Lord. And Brent Roy's going to celebrate here on the front stretch. We're going to take a quick look at a little bit of a highlight reel, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Kern County Raceway. We're here for the NEP Summer Series presented by RCL TV. Brent Roy just took the victory here, and as such, he'll take the championship. Corey Casagrande coming up second on both accounts here. Zane Farrell was third. Tire strategy didn't quite play out for those two drivers in second and third, but they were darn close. Maybe another lap or two, and I think Zane or Corey would have been battling for the lead amongst themselves. Steve Daddio comes home in fourth. Keith Lord rounds out the top 5. Scott McDonald, again, quiet consistency out of Scott. He'll come home in the 6th position. Tim Shinowski in 7th. Adam Henry finishes in the 8th spot. Mike Douglas Jr. and Brian Ship round out the top 10, followed by gentleman Jeff Brown in 11th, Jeff Bradway in 12th, and Drew Greenlaw rounding out your 13 truck field. Go ahead and see if we can't bring Brent Roy up into the booth, winner of this race and the championship. Brent, you've got to be, I want to say, top 10 happiest people in Canada right now.
Yeah, I mean, fun race. I like this place. Some of the guys are saying let's go back to Myrtle Beach. I hate that place, even though we got a couple wins there. But no, we just had a lot of fun tonight and just I don't know, focus forward. That's all we did and come away with a win.
Brent, how I'm going to say worried were you knowing that the seven truck had fresher tires? He's your rival for the championship, and he came here with a 5 point lead. So worst case, if he just completely runs into you in turns 3 and 4, you guys both go wrecking. He'd come away with the championship, but not quite the win for the race.
Yeah, I mean, I to be honest with you, I don't know how the championship ended up, but Corey's really good at moving people without wrecking them. So, like in fairness to him, he's really good at that. So I knew that we probably weren't going to wreck. You might get into me or something like that, but we always race each other hard, and it's a lot of fun. We bend a lot of sheet metal, but it's always a lot of fun.
Oh, Brent, I'm about 99.5% sure you're the champion. 100%. Sales says 100%. So you are the winner of the championship. That's why I say top
Oh,
10.
cool.
Maybe if you just won the race, maybe top 30 or 40, but championship and the race in the same night, I think that's top 10 happiest people in Canada, probably.
Yeah, we'll probably put us up there in the top five in Canada for sure. So that's kind of cool. Never really won a championship, in online stuff before, and we just Sal put this deal together, and we decided to run it. And I was away for one race there on vacation, so I couldn't make that, but just decided to show up and have fun. Had a couple different tracks and stuff, so it's cool to. I mean, missing a complete race and winning it's kind of a neat little check mark on top, I guess, cherry on top.
No, for sure. Brent, I mean, we've seen you dominate a lot of different races this year, but I think out of all of them, this one is probably the most dominant one you've driven. What makes Kern County kind of mesh with your driving style so well?
Yeah, that's a good question. First off, it's hard to pass here. So track positions a lot. We practiced this track, or we tested, I guess, this track a couple months ago, and it raced really, really well. And I just kind of took to it. It's one of those places that a lot of guys I feel charge the corner, ride the brakes, and that really burns the front tires up. You gotta slow the truck down, but get off the brakes to get it to turn, and then wait, let it roll, and there's it's a catch 22. There's times when I can tell myself that's what we got to do. I'm good at it, but then there's times that I panic and I completely forget it. So when you're out front, you kind of able to kind of be calm a little bit. So it just kind of agrees with my driving style for the most part. And yeah, I like this place. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, well, the last question I have just before we let you go. First off, again, congratulations on the win and the championship victory. But who makes it possible for this 26 truck to get to and from the racetrack?
Well, first and foremost, I guess the first time I can say is my wife, Heather. We got married this past weekend, so big thanks to her for putting up with all my malarkey through the week and driving fake race cars online. Um, my kids, mom and dad, all that fun stuff. Flow racing. Big thanks to everybody at NEP for I said to a couple guys the other day that imagine if COVID never happened, NEP would have never happened, and I wouldn't have met literally everybody who's here. So it's been a lot of fun, and huge thanks, obviously, to RSAL TV and Ryan Salvatore for putting this together. It's been pretty cool. The promo of it's been pretty cool. So would like to see a few more of the few guys out, but we've had 10, 15 truck fields, and it's been putting on a good show. It's a lot of fun. So real big thanks to all that, and I be remiss to mention if I didn't mention my 229 Autosport teammates. Nice to finally put a championship trophy next to the 17,000 that John Peters has in the front office there. So I don't know if there's going to be room for mine, but we'll put it up there anyway.
At least deserves a spot somewhere next to his, maybe off to the side compared to, like you said, all 17,000 of his, but definitely deserves a spot in the front office.
Absolutely, yeah, I'd say I'm going to definitely move some of his out of the way, whether he likes it or not.
I think you have to. I think you could probably stand up, put some of them away. I think they might be collecting a little bit too much dust. Maybe put them up in bags or bins up in the attic there at team
Yeah,
headquarters. I don't think
yeah,
that'd be a bad idea.
probably Salvation Army or something at this point. It's too many.
Yeah, he's got too many. I don't think he'd miss any. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Anyways, Brent, congratulations once again. Congrats on the marriage. Be remiss to not mention that. And we'll see you at the start of the regular season here in NEP.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Really looking forward to it.
It's Brent Roy, winner of the race and the championship. And now, Kenny, I believe you've caught up with our second place finisher, not just in the race, but in the championship as well, Corey Casagrande.
Yeah, Corey, it looks like you came just a couple of corners shy of a race win and potentially a championship as well. Uh, Let me ask you first, you were kind of like towards the front most of the race, but then you had that pit lane mishap. Did that end up kind of dictating that pit lane or that strategy call to take two tires?
Oh yeah, 100%. I didn't want to be in that position, but it worked out pretty well. Honestly, I thought I had the championship won by finishing second, so that's why I didn't really press the issue there on the last couple laps. But I guess I should have, because I would have
You
wrecked
should
Brent
have
for a
junked him.
championship. 'Cause I would have wrecked Brent for a championship 1,000%. So that's on me. It's on me.
I,
I,
I'm
I
a,
I would like to fight the results and maybe Sal miscalculated the points.
very well could have happened. I honestly, I thought you would have wrecked him even if it wasn't for a championship, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean for the win, yeah, probably. You're right. If it's anyone, it was going to be Brent.
Right, right, of
So
course.
the fact that I didn't do it says a lot about my character.
I guess it does.
Uh,
And
Yeah,
you did a good
apparently
job. You did
I
a good
chalked you up to just junking him there. I figured for sure.
well, uh, now you guys are making me really wish I did it. But
Well, there's always the regular NEP season where
yeah,
it is a little
I
bit
want to
more,
wait till
but
there's a little more on the line to get him. So
right.
we'll just have to wait.
Now, how did the truck feel on those two tires? I was wondering if it was going to feel too loose.
Well, my big thing is I cranked like 2 turns of front brake in it, thinking that as well, and it was pretty good. I mean, obviously those guys in front of me didn't have great tires at the end, but I looked at my tire wear before I took the two, um, and the lefts weren't too beat up on the first run, so that kind of just helped my idea of just taking two and just I needed some type of track position. I had to take a quick repair there as well, so I was going to come down pit road no matter what.
I
So
see. Yeah,
that's kind of where it came from.
right. And lastly, running this series, this summer series, running some different tracks, do you think that this has helped you prepare at all or learn more about the trucks as we head to another NEP season using this same vehicle?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely wanted to make sure. Like, I wasn't sure if I was going to run them all, but glad I ran them all. I'm glad I got some laps at like Eldora and Kern and Nashville, places that were going to race during the regular season. So um, it made me buy. I had to buy Kern yesterday, so. um, But it's a fun track, a little fun track, a little hard to pass. But yeah, maybe when some tire strategies go, it'll be a little better.
Right, for sure. Well, you had a good run in this series regardless. Before we send you off, is there anybody you'd like to thank for the run tonight?
I just got to thank my sponsors in real life: Childhood Performance, Wicked Power Sports, Kaiser Builders, everyone that helps out. But and my teammates in NEP because they cut me some breaks there during that race, so it always helps having them.
All right, Corey. Well, great run again, nice and consistent, and a good comeback from the problems you had in the middle of the race. We'll catch you later in the NEP season.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was Corey Casagrande, finisher P2 in both the race and the championship.
Go ahead and take a quick look at the championship standings as we leave Kern County here. Corey Casagrande loses out on the championship by a mere 2 points to see Brent Roy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins out of a possible 8 races this season. He dominated it without much room to say there. A tie 2 ways between Zane Farrell and Tim Shinoski for the bronze medal in the championship, and Keith Lord rounding out the top 5 there. For the final time this season, on behalf of myself, Austin Belkey, my booth mate Kenny Kibbe, and our director Ryan Salvatore, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to come back for the regular season of the NEP series. You can catch all of those races for the 2026 into 2027 schedule at about 8:20 in the evening on Wednesday nights over at Vidane TV. And that's it, folks. Have a good night.